Hey guys, how's it going? Do a quick sound check here. Good, everything looks good. So I hope everybody had a good week this week. Had a lot of stuff going on since we went on our little vacation. We've been doing a lot of repairs on the house, and so we've been working on turning into a concrete worker and mover and pressure cleaner person. So kind of got away from the shop a little bit this week, but uh, did make some progress this week. So we'll go ahead and go over some of the stuff we did run Leo's car on Sunday, which good thing he called me. I totally forgot we were doing that. So didn't go quite as well as planned, but it is what it is. See, Chris is on. What's going on, Chris? How you doing with the Nova? Getting any closer to getting that thing on the dyno? Hope you are. But yeah, that's pretty much what been had to make a parts list on the Regal. Had a lot of stuff missing on that car, and had to get that made up so we get fittings and wiring and stuff that we needed to get that car moving along. Hey Ryan, how you doing? I see he's on. Nice job on the radiator support on the square body. It looks great. Let me know how those push or quick latches work on that. I've heard on some of the fiberglass stuff they're a little tricky. Excuse me. But yeah, so that we did that. Worked on Dave's Chevelle this last week. Got all the stereo equipment mounted in the back of the car, the battery box. Ran all the RCA cables and speaker cables in through the into the car and keeping them all hidden, and the battery cables. And making slow but sure progress on it. About ready to put the main harness in that. So that hopefully we'll have some video to show next week on that. See, Chris says, I want to at Sebring. Oh, I went to Sebring. Cars were badass. So they did Optima series at Sebring. That's pretty cool, because I thought last year they did Daytona, but yeah, that's definitely a goal for the Vet Hawk. Of course, hopefully by the time I get the Vet Hawk done, they'll still be doing that. But yeah, those cars are definitely well sorted, high dollar race cars that are street legal. There's no doubt that those guys are on the top of their game. And the cars are, fine example of what you can do with a car. So that's it's besides a drive and drag for drag racing, the Optima series is probably the closest thing for a road course autocross type car. So you got to do I think they do a 50-mile cruise. They do the 3S stop. They do the autocross, and they do hot laps on the road course. So, and they judge the car by for creativity and installation and quality and all that stuff, paint and all that. So it's a really good series. I like how you have to really build a real car, not just a race car. That's. I was thinking about running the 50 Chevy in Optima at one point, but the reality was that car isn't really what their series is all about. I mean, they would have probably thought it was cool and all, but no interior, patina paint, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't, suspension-wise, it wasn't sorted as good as I'd like to at an event like that where all the cars are top-notch cars. It's a cool venue. But of course, just like everything else, you find guys that maybe were road racers and they decided to, they didn't like the local road racing, they want to do some traveling or whatever. But, there's obviously some very high-end cars in that deal. Chris says all the top cars were running 335 square. Yes, yeah. 335. Wow, not even 315s. So I guess I'll have to make sure my 335s fit in my car as well. But yeah, I mean, you might as well if the rules allow it. A good guy's 315 is the biggest you can go. I don't know at LS if they have a max tire size rule. I know that most of the sanctioning bodies do not allow the one Kumo Viper tire, which I believe is a 335, but I don't know about Optima. I really haven't taken a good hard look at their rules since it's not something I'm ready to do at any time soon. So glad you got to go up and see that though, and definitely something I wanted to do. I didn't realize they were at Sebring this last weekend, but I wouldn't have been able to go anyway since we were in Bradenton with Leo's car. So only so much time in the day and days in the week. Wish there was more. I really could use 24-hour work days and maybe make it a 30-hour day, so you can get 6 hours of sleep in. But yeah, so that was good. Got to catch that on TV. I see. Sorry, Mike, I missed you. Yeah, good evening. Glad you made it. So we got, like you said, I got a lot of the preliminary wiring done on Dave's car. I'm at the point where I'm about to measure wire lengths from, to start organizing the harness, and so you have to have components to go to. If you don't have the components there, it's kind of hard, or you just end up making everything really long and burning through a lot of extra wire. So, like I said, I got the stereo stuff in, I got the AC in the week before, I got the ECU mounted, so now I can go ahead and start planning where everything's going to go. I still need to get the shifter and the console located for the neutral safety and reverse lights, but I'm getting really close on that. So that should come out real good, and hopefully we can get that thing moving along. I got a long line of things that need to get in the shop, and I need to get that one moving along back to the body shop so I can get cut and sanded, cut and buffed. That's what I was trying to say, so they can get that thing finished up. And then it still has to go to the interior shop to get that cleaned up also. Body shop put the glass and stuff in the car, and some of this stuff is not working too good. I spent a couple hours fixing the rear quarter windows, trying to get them to open and close properly, since I had to run wiring through there anyway, so I wanted to get that all working right. Ryan says those latches aren't a pain in the ass. Man, they always put this little heart right there, and I can't. Latches aren't a pain in the ass. I'll make it into one. Yeah. Yeah. I've heard from guys that, they try to do them on fiberglass body parts, and it's like has to be exactly lined up to make them work easy. But being a steel hood and everything, you probably could be a lot better off than a fiberglass, lift-off hood, because even with Zeus fasteners, I found that typically there's a path you have to follow. You get one in, and then the rest all follow suit. If you start at a different spot, it seems like you chase your tail a little bit trying to get the alignment right. So I'm sure that those are the same way. I wish you good luck, and I'm very interested to see how it works out, because that could be a good alternative for the Vethawk. So I'm rooting for you, man. So we can go over a little bit of stuff on Leo. I'll go ahead and I got some video, not very much video. It was a rough day over there at Bradenton. They had a ton of cars there. another weekend of, if you think the tracks are dying, you just need to go to a good racetrack, a good, well-run racetrack, and you can see that that's not the case. But they did have their Florida 2K race. It's a street, what do they call that? Street takeover event. So there was tons of Dodge Chargers and Challengers, a lot of Hellcats. There was actually two Copo Camaros. So very interesting. Plus, the half the pits were loaded up because they're having the World Series of Pro Mods from Drag Illustrated this weekend. They're actually doing testing this whole week. So they were very quick to get us out by 3:30 in the afternoon, which made it a really short day for testing. They don't go hot till 10 o'clock. So they had to rush us out because they had to get signage up and get the track prepped and everything because they were started testing Monday morning, or actually I think they even ran some Sunday night. So yeah, so it was a quick day. Billy, our driver, he had won one of the classes at the Florida 2K the night before, but he hadn't been in the Studebaker for a little bit. So with the new turbo, we had everything turned way down, and that probably was one of the things with the rushed times, the rushed way they ran the event, the test and tune event, kind of bit us in the tail. Plus, they had a jet car there with a driver getting license runs, so they attempted to make 3 runs, and of course that slowed everything down because then there was a huge cleanup after every pass. So it was kind of a cluster over there. But let's see. No, it's almost quarter after. Let's go ahead and let me. I got some videos to show, so let me switch you over to my screen here. Make sure sound's still on. Yep. Okay. So I have to put my glasses on. Sorry. So let's see. These are. Wait, that's the first run. We don't want to watch that yet. Where's my mouse? Sorry. Kind of got ahead of myself. I don't have these organized. Actually, just got back in the shop. So here's the second burnout. I missed the first burnout on the computer. Let me fix the sound up here. Hopefully the sound is on now. Like I said, on the first burnout, I didn't have the screen locked on, the lens locked on. So that was the first burnout. Now that we had a burnout, I can go ahead and show you the. This was the first launch, which I added a bunch of fuel to the fuel map, so I wasn't sure where the boost was going to be. If it came in earlier, we had it in the section we didn't plan on. So kind of made it really rich and made a good starting spot. See, it looks like a diesel going down the track. That's how much fuel. Big mistake. I should have left it alone. I figured let it be rich and safe than having any problems. So this should be the third run. There's the third burnout. At this point, I'd pulled some fuel out of it. And this is the third attempt. So, I'll go ahead and kind of show these in the background. Let me adjust the light. So, our goals were to on the first run was to just first gear, second gear into second, and lift. Unfortunately, Billy short shifted first gear, so we really didn't get the good data up at the top end of the run, but he did run second out pretty good, and we could see that it was way fat anyway. I could see that by just watching the video. So one of those things, don't you? Then on this particular run, the radiator cap was loose, and when Billy finished the burnout, he could see all the water on the track. So we didn't make a second run. This is going back to the first run, where you can see how much the smoke coming out of the header right there on the right side. You can see that it was extremely rich. It was like 9.5 instead of 12.7. So extremely rich, because it on the launches was low boost with the settings we were using. So that was those two runs, and then of course this was the third run. So by the time we're ready to make this run, I pulled fuel out of it, and actually went back to a table that we had from the event before, which still was on the rich side, but we had to see where we were. So this is the actual run, and I had moved to shift the launch RPM up to 4,500. It's still way too low, so we're still not getting enough boost on the starting line. But really, because we were on a fast, forced, let me go back here. Since we were on a forced, quick turnaround because of the jet car and because they were trying to close early, we decided not to worry about too much of the anti-lag and stuff. So that on that run, it still was in the mid-10s off the line at 5 pounds of boost, which was the launch, which we should be getting. We need to be back up at 15 psi. But because we didn't know what the turbo was going to do, because we didn't know, how long the other one had been damaged, we turned the wastegate way down, we turned the controller down, and it only made 15 pounds total anyway. So that's where we were at that point. We did go to make a fourth run, and on that run, I fixed all the, I believe I fixed all the low RPM overfueling, and I made some pretty big adjustments to the anti-lag to see if that would help out any and get in some more boost. So we were up in the lanes. It was getting close to 3 o'clock. While we were sitting in the lanes, they went ahead and told everybody, last run, if you're in the lanes, you're in. if you're out, once you run, don't come back. So we got up there, and we've been having this quirk with the car, and it wasn't. I didn't think enough. I should have tried to do some more research on it right away. But occasionally, with the Holley and with most programmable fuel injection systems, the fuel pump, when you activate the key or power switch, the fuel pump will run for 5 seconds. If the ECU does not see a crank signal, it'll shut the fuel pump off. That way, the fuel pump's not running in case there's a leak, or the engine's not running. Just like the OEMs do, if the car got in an accident and it loses crank signal, it'll shut the fuel pump off. So we've been chasing a little issue where if you let the fuel pump stop, it'll run its 5 seconds and then stop. And then if you start cranking the engine, sometimes the fuel pump doesn't turn back on. So I've been having Billy hit the button, and if he hears the fuel pump, to activate start right away, and it starts right up. And it hasn't been a problem. As long as he had his timing right, it worked perfect. But on the fourth run, where we had everything adjusted pretty good, I put 5 turns on the wastegate, or 4 turns on the wastegate, 2 from the run before. So we should have got our boost back up into the 20 range. So it should have been a pretty decent pass. The fuel pump turned on. Billy turned on when the car in front of him left. He just turned the ignition on for a second and turned it off. The fuel pump was on. When they went ahead and flagged him to come forward for the burnout, turned the ignition on, no fuel pump. Not even just ignition on. It didn't even do the primer. And we did a quick thrash, and without any meters or anything, everything was plugged in. All the fuses were good. I did the quick preliminaries. Knocked on the relay with a screwdriver handle, whatever I could think of to try to get that pass in, and it didn't work. So we went ahead and towed back to the trailer. I got a volt ohm meter and found the trigger wire coming out of the ECU only had 5 volts. So not only was it not turning the fuel pump on, it wasn't turning the injectors or the coils on. So that ended our day. Was already ended as far as couldn't make another pass anyway. And so Billy never actually ran it all the way out, all through all 3 gears, because he was concerned about what the tuning was doing. So and I told him it was safe to go. It was rich if nothing else, but he felt he wanted to see a good pass before he laid in it the entire quarter mile. So we never did get a good pass. And we did see almost 130 mile an hour in the 8th on one run, and with the slow launch, that was a pretty good mile an hour, because we're still in the low 150, 60 foot where the car should be 120. So that's 3 pretty big numbers, so that would be, my rule of thumb is one little number on the 60 foot gains you 3 on the other end. So, but again, we never really ran it out, so it really doesn't make a difference. So I got to work on that now. I got the relay and the ECU here with me. I got to make a little test stand and see what kind of amperage draw the relay had. Maybe the Tyco 70 amp relay that I had for the injectors and the coil is drawing too much amperage and burned the circuit in the ECU, or maybe low voltage corrupted the tune. That is a problem, and we didn't, for whatever reason, because we were trying to hot lap the car, we never charged the battery all day, although it does have 2 AGM 12 volt batteries in it, and we checked the voltage every time between runs, and it was holding 12.6. So the batteries were probably 80-90% charged, so it shouldn't have been an issue. But nevertheless, that became an issue, and we'll have to see what's going on with that. I was going to bring up some of the data logs and I just realized I'd never got them out of the laptop. They're still in my laptop, so I don't have them on this computer to show you guys. I could, let me do that while we're talking. I can fire up my laptop and get them out, and then we can put them in the tower. Yeah, so that was unfortunately, it was not the event we were looking for. I really thought that we were gonna go over there and lay a pass down and see that we were close to making a new record run. Oh, my laptop is dead, of course. Let me see, charging cable. Apologize for not being better prepared. All the stuff going on. It's been a rough week. Okay, so let's see. I can find a disc to put those on. All right, sorry about that. So. Give you guys, I got a little tech tip that I ran into this week. I've seen these before. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a clutch tool that looks like this. It's much larger. The way that works is it usually you put it on the bell housing and then you push the rod in to the fingers, and then the other side, you can go to the transmission side and measure the depth for your throwout bearing. So I actually have one of those. It works real well. On Scott's Skylark, it's got a hydro boost that we had to modify to make it fit the car. And so it ended up having to put a spacer between the hydro boost and the master cylinder because the orientation is not correct for the master cylinder. The master cylinder would lay on its side. So that I went ahead and made a longer push rod, adding the thickness of the spacer to the rod, so that it would be the same as if the master was bolted directly to the hydro boost. We did have an issue where when you pushed the hydro boost, it had a little hitch and a little click. It wasn't bad. I drove around. I didn't even pay attention to it, because one of the things with a lot of the stuff on Scott's cars, a lot of stuff like the hydro boost was a junkyard piece that he got. He brought me 2 or 3 different orientations of brackets, which I went and took all that stuff off and made my own stuff anyway. But nevertheless, I figured, well, that could be just something in his hydro boost, and if that's the case, we'll just replace the hydro boost with a brand new Bosch, and then we won't have a problem. But I got thinking about it, and hey, Chris, my nephew, Mr. Pro-Am from Lake Havasu, is on the chat. Glad to have you on, man. So I thought about it. I seen this tool, and I said, you know what, maybe I ought to pick one of these up and just verify that the pin that I manufactured was the right width. If anybody has tried to measure pin depth on a master cylinder, it's kind of tough because the mounting flange, the bore comes through the mounting flange, and then there's a hole in the back on the piston for where the rod sits. So you got to do a lot of math. You got to measure how far back the cylinder goes, and how far from the cylinder into the push rod stop. And it's easy to get your math screwed up and not get it 100%. So I picked up this little tool. It works real well. You push it on the master cylinder. Actually, use this side on the master cylinder. So you push it in, and you just put your rod to where it bottoms out, and then the other side goes to your booster, and the pin should line up the same. So it works out real well, and I just thought I might show you. You can get these on Amazon. This one was on Amazon for $5. So it's a piece of plastic, but I measured it, and it is correct length, and it worked well. So just a little thing. If you got to play around with master cylinder booster or manual brake pedal push rods on your master cylinder, quick easy tool to make sure you got the right depth in your master cylinder to the piston. So that's my little tech tip for the night. So let me grab this laptop here. I'm gonna just grab these tunes real quick, or these data logs. Just take me a second. And we can put them on the screen, and I can show you what I found. All right, there's data log. Where's the other data logs? Let me just go in. Sorry, I didn't have this already ready. That's bad on me. Which one do I already have one there? 41's already there. So there's 25. And let me get a global file. All right. Okay, I think I got it. Oh, we're gonna put the screen, the disk in the drive. Let me just get that real quick. Again, I apologize for not being ready for all this. Got too many things opened up. It's not. Where is it being currently used at? All right. For some reason, it says it's still being used. I don't know why it would be doing that. Let me just close everything out. All right, there we go. All right, sorry about that. All right, so let's open up a. Okay, so where's our files? Let's open up the Holley. And we'll start out by getting the last tune that we were working on. right, let me just do this way. Again, sorry I had this all figured out, but of course not. That would be too easy. Now I got 30 things opening at once. So I'll show you this real quick. Here's how you put your files in your software. So let me close that. So here's, we got our thumb drive over here, and here's our, we have our on the PC we have our documents, which is our Holley file. Here's our Holley V6. So global files, and then you just find where you're going to place it. Like I do, I have multiple folders. So there's Leo 4200. And oh, you know what I did? I saved the whole thing. Oh, great. Okay, so let's go datalogs. So you want to put your datalogs in your file, which works the same way as what we just did. I didn't show you, I'm sorry. So here's our two datalogs. Huh, that's pretty cool. They've already did it. So what you would normally do is click on it and then drag it over to the folder you want to go. Standard Windows operating. But this is pretty cool. I must have copied everything because it's all there already. So let's go ahead and close all this out. Open our Holley again. That was very unusual they did that, but so the way I do my datalogs, the way I do my filing, and this is good for anybody that's got a programmable fuel injection, data logging, capturing device, anything that you're going to have multiple information for the same program or same vehicle or whatever you're doing. So in my directory, I click on Leo's 4200, and then you can see I've got subfolders. There was 1023, the new engine, 1117, the dyno, 1119, which was the Bradenton Motorsports Park test, and then here's Bradenton Motorsports Park test 227 with the new turbo. So in these folders I can put that information. Now I know I can find exactly what I'm looking for. So we'll open up the folder from the test session, and then there's our first attempt, the data that, or the global file that I made before we made the first hit. And this was the second run where we made some adjustments, and then that was the third run, which we did not get to make because of the fuel pump issue. But we're going to go ahead and put that, load that file. Now we can go and look at our base fuel and all that stuff, target AFR, all the normal stuff you'd see in any of your normal tuning files. But we want to look at a data log. So let's pull up a data log. And you'll notice once we get back to our main directory here, same, well, I don't have it done in this one yet. See, so here's all the data logs I have, and these are the cars I've tuned. So you go Leo's, and there's the 111923 test and the dyno test, but haven't made the folder for the new data logs. So what we would do is click on new folder, put BMP 225 2022 new turbo. So now we've got a new folder now for the test session that we just did this last weekend. So we can go here, and what I can do is I'll open my directory. We'll go one file before that, and I'm getting ready to make some videos on this. My wife informed me she's going to be working this weekend, so I'm going to have Sunday to myself. So I'm going to go ahead and do a bunch of these little Holley videos. So I just opened up the folder that I just made for the new test session, and we don't have it. There's nothing in it, obviously. So then I'll open up my directory where I do have the saved runs, and we'll highlight them, click the control button to save all, drag them over, and now we have them in our main file. So we'll go ahead and open, this would have been the first run. And this is the run where I had added a bunch of fuel, and I can show you a comparison file. So that'll show you the differences. So we open up our data log, and let's see, we got to change the I want to change the configuration. So we want the Leo 2400 graph. With the Holley, you can set these parameters so you can get to see on the data log the components you want to see, rather than the pre-made ones that have all kinds of stuff on. And as I've shown in other videos, wherever you got a green check mark, that is what is in one of these boxes here. So, and you can see with the Dominator, you have quite a bit of sensors and things that you can look at. So anyway, so let's go ahead and switch that over. So now we'll go to our drag race. So this, on the drag race data log, I've already got all these pieces lined up to see what I want to see. And what we're seeing, you know, let me this is how the screen this is how the data log comes from Holley, but you can go into viewing style and put light inset, and it changes to that. So I typically on my computer like it this way. I don't know for you guys which way is easier to see. I can switch it back to the dark if that is better, or otherwise I'm going to leave it like this. But what we're looking at on this graph is, here's his burnout. The red is the RPM, and then idles, and then here's where he went down the track. So we can go ahead and expand that, zoom in. You can see the blue line at the top is TPS, and then you can see right here trans brake control, and there's a green light. That means the trans brake was initiated. If we go right on the other side of the 0, you can see the light goes out. So the car is leaving the line. And the car moved pretty slowly because the dry shaft sensor didn't pick up any movement until almost 1 second. So that run was really bad. The engine was really rich. And we can see that by looking at some of the different things. So this green line going up here is our dry shaft. The red is engine RPM. The maroon is a map sensor. So we can switch now to one of my other pre-set up files. Like here's all of our sensors. And so here I can read trans, temperature, turbo back pressure, converter, all these things. I've already got them made up, and the screen will stay where I have it, where I'm zoomed in. It's just changing the sensors that we're looking at. And then, oh, I went too far. Fuel tune. I went too far the other way. So fuel tune is the first pane of data log that we can see. And so now this maroon is AFR, this blue is target AFR, which you can see very rich. So if we click on that area, you can see over here the AFR was 803 and the target was 12.3. And what I did on that first run is in the lower RPM sections where we didn't hit on the dyno, I added 20% fuel because I wasn't sure what it would do. Although it didn't work because it was way too rich. And then, of course, like we've talked about before, if we go back to our fuel map or our target AFR map, here's the green line, and the cursor is where the cursor was in the data log. And you can go to the base fuel map, and the same thing. It's telling you where, showing you where it was, where the data was taken from, so you can make your tuning adjustments. So I wanted to look at the next run because I really didn't get much time to look at this data while we were at the track because we were quick trying to make adjustments so that we could get back to this starting line and make the next run. Like I said previously, it was a very rushed test session. Not the kind of session I'd like to do with this car, but all right. So here's this data log was taken. Again, this section here, let me highlight this. There's the burnout. Green is RPM. Got a little crazy on that one, but nevertheless, that was the burnout. And then if we move this down here, there's our going down track. And if you watch the green, you can see there's the 1-2 shift and 2-3, and then immediately lifted because the violet is TPS. You can see when it reached the top of the RPM, he lifted out of it. But what I wanted to look at, let's see how high he actually had the engine, 7,900 RPM. So that's why it's off screen, because I've got the top of the screen at 7,450. But what I was interested in is back pressure. I didn't get a chance to look at that at the track. So boost pressure was 15 pounds. This was our third run, but it was second attempt because the second run we had the loose radiator cap and dumped water all over the track. Not fun. Kind of looked like amateurs at that point, but I digress. So we gotta go to a different pane. Maybe sensors. Yeah, so we still aren't getting turbo back pressure. So the exhaust housing still may be too big on this thing. 11.9 on the battery voltage. That's a little low. Trans pressure looked good. Converter pressure looked good. Temp looked good. KPA timing 17 degrees. That should have been good. And on the fuel, you can see our target AFR was 11.96, and we were actually at 11.87. So we were very close to target. Although you could see, let's go back to where the trans brake was released. Obviously, it's rich there because we have an anti-lag program. But you can see once the car launched, the RPMs dropped down and the engine got extremely rich again, 9.96. So after this run is where I made the final fuel adjustments that should have shown us what we wanted to see. However, we didn't get to make that run. So we didn't get to see what those did. So unfortunately, that was a real bummer there. Another cool thing that the Holley does. So this is the last tune that I made. We didn't get to run this tune down the track. This is when the fuel pump died. But I can pull up I can do a comparison to the earlier files. So let's go to the first file. You can see how much fuel I added to it. So we have to go back in the directory to global. Leo, new turbo test session. So here's where we started the first run when it was smoking like a diesel. And you can see on this side you have some of the stuff that's bold. That's showing where there's a variation between tunes. So we're going to go to fuel. We can go to base fuel map, fuel table, and we can put percentage, and you can see all around here it's all zeros, and then in here you can see the percentage of fuel that was added to the tune. And you can see I was on right here 28%, 23%, 20%. So that's why it was smoking like it was a diesel. I added a ton of fuel. I wanted to make sure it was safe, anticipating we were going to get a lot of runs. That did not work out to our favor though. So let's go then. So after that first run, I looked at the data and made adjustments. So here's the adjustments that were made. And now you can see what I did was I put the fuel table file in from the previous test session when we had the bad turbo. And that would have, if I brought up that comparison file to the second run, you would see that they're exactly the same. Although it was still, at this point, it was still rich. So you can see the corrections here. I pulled out 16% fuel, 18% fuel, 7% fuel, so there's 16. So this is the difference between the run 2 and run 3, which the run 3 is the one we never got to make. That was on Delta. Let's go to percentage. Yeah, still shows. Oh, it was on percentage. I'm sorry. So that's a nice thing, a nice feature. You can see what the changes were, where they were. You can see down here idling and stuff. The motor runs good. Even at high RPM, motor was clean, so I didn't make any adjustments. It was all right off the trans brake to get that fat spot out. I believe that this would have been a very good clean run had we got a chance to make it. So that's drag racing, right? We test to fix problems we've had. But unfortunately, I wish I had a better test session and better outcome to share with you guys. But it is what it is. We made progress, but unfortunately, between not running the car all the way out and not having the fuel curve happy, we didn't get enough time to make enough runs to do that. And I believe the next test session that Leo would want to go to would be in 2 weeks, and I'm not going to be able to make that one, I don't believe. We'll see if I can. If I can, I will. But the problem is I've got to get this ECU fixed, and I wanted to go over to his place and put the ECU in, and then do some anti-lag work before we get back to the track. Billy was real happy with how fast the car came up to the two-step, but we still haven't hit that threshold yet where we're over the where the boost is coming in, the motor's starting to make more power so that the converter loosens up and gets us to that higher RPM. We really need to be at 5,500, maybe almost 6,000 RPM to get that 15 PSI launch that we used to have back in the day, and that's where we used to launch the car. But I wanted to see the car go clean down the track, and I didn't want to do too many things at one time. I didn't want to make a major swing at anti-lag and then not have the car go down the track. So, we were trying to be methodical, making one change at a time. Although I knew on that what would have been our fourth attempt, that we were out of time. I did make a swing at the anti-lag, but of course the fuel pump died and we never got to see that, whether it worked or not. And for those of you that aren't accustomed to turbo tuning, anti-lag tuning is things you modify in the tune to help spool the engine. I can show you that real quick. We can bring that up. There you go. Let me bring that file back up. Get rid of the comparison. So we go into our advanced tables, and a 1D table. Yep, computer's thinking. I guess with the live show and everything going on, it's too much to go, too much for it to think about. All right, you gonna open? Oh, yep, encoder's overloaded. It's catching up though. Okay, there we go. So on this table, this is our boost builder table, timing offset by map pressure. So what I do is it's activated, switch enabled, when the rev limiter is activated. So when the trans brake is entered, that activates the rev limiter. Even if it doesn't get to it, it's still, that circuit is still activated. So what happens is the second thing is it has to reach 80% TPS. So you have to be going to the floor, because you don't want this coming in early. So what happens is the bottom scale here is map pressure, and you can see at just before atmospheric pressure, before any boost comes in, we start pulling timing out of the motor. Now, on the original boost, on the original analog file that was on the we used on the first 2 runs, it was a positive. We were adding timing, because on the dyno with the broke turbo, we found that worked better. So I switched it to pulling timing out. To that usually works better when it's making boost. So as it would make boost, it would keep pulling more timing out, and then once it reaches our peak, then the timing would come back in to help control it. And then I do a second table. So there we're doing timing, and then here we're doing injectors. So as soon as it opens up, so here you can see same thing, just before it gets to atmospheric pressure, 0 vacuum, the fuel starts coming in. So once it starts seeing boost, it starts adding 11% and then 12%. And then if it reaches 15, then it starts taking the fuel back out. So that'll keep it from overshooting. So that's what analog is. These 2 tables need a lot more work. It probably are going to end up with the fuel being around 20%, and the timing retard probably pulling out about 15 degrees or maybe 18 degrees. Right now we're only pulling out 9. But like I said earlier, I was trying not to make too many huge changes at one time so the car would still go down the track. You know, you can get some of these a little too far and then the car sputtering and doing other things. So before we go testing again, I'm going to get this fuel pump issue straightened out, and I'm going to go over to Leo's and work on analog. I can do that in the driveway right in front of the shop. We'll have time there, because we got to, every time you do it, you have to cool the trans back down, because it does build a lot of heat in the trans. But we can get that all worked out so that next time we go to the track, hopefully we'll have all that straightened out. On that second run, which was our 3rd attempt, you saw it made 15 pounds of boost. So from that to the next attempt, which we didn't make, I went ahead and put 4.5 turns of pressure on the wastegate. So that should have gotten us closer to the 20 psi. Again, we didn't make that run, so we don't know where that actually put us. But that's for the next time. You know, we'll go back to the testing, and once we get the launch setup straightened out, then we're going to be in pretty good shape. And the reason why all this launch stuff is suspect and why we're working on it is because we never had the car really running right with the Holley system in. When the car made all of its record, so to speak, passes, it had big stuff. At one time we had a power glide with a dump valve, so you could really get a lot of boost built up. So those are, you know, we didn't have that stuff or we didn't have the Holley system in it then, and we put the Holley system in later because we weren't getting data. We were having a lot of problems getting data logs, and so we put the Holley in, and then that's when we had all the engine issues. Not because of the Holley, but it just that was the timing. It's just the way it worked out. So we have the fuel mapping. I think we're really close in the fuel map now, and we know we have a good turbocharger now. So hopefully we'll work on this analog and get the launch set up straightened out pretty good. We still may need to put one of the older converters in, because this converter that's in the car now is new to the car, so we don't know if it's 100% correct yet, because we haven't been able to get to the point. We need to get to that 5,500 launch RPM to see what the converter is doing. So again, I don't want to make too many changes at once. I don't want to say this wastegate or this torque converter is no good and go back to one of the old ones, because the older ones on previous runs were showing a lot of slip at the high end. So if we can make this one work on the starting line, it's going to work way better down track. So we'll probably have to spend a little bit more time, get this analog worked on, see if we can get the launch where we need it. If it doesn't work after the next attempt, then we'll probably have to step back on the converter, put something in that we know works, and then work it from there. But right now we've had so many question marks with bad turbo and engine problems and different cam timing and stuff like that. We've had so many variables that we need to start picking through them and quantifying. Okay, that one's okay. We're done with that. We obviously, knock on wood, 2 test sessions now, and my motor is holding up. We're not quite to a record yet, but we're getting close. So hopefully the engine stays good. So that is one thing checked off the list. We don't have to worry about that anymore. We've got, I believe with that, the tune that I just showed you guys, that tune is going to be really close to being spot on, at least for the boost levels that we're running right now. So that will be another one. We can check that off the list. And then, we'll spend more time on analog, and that will hopefully get us to a launch RPM and a boost level that will make the car leave the starting line like a race car instead of a street car. And then we'll be able to check that off the list. And at that point, we'll know what we have to do torque converter wise and moving forward, with the turbo and everything else. We still may have the exhaust housing may still be too big. This is still the original back turbine housing that was on the old turbo. So as we just looked at on the data log, we're still not seeing any turbo back pressure. So that's not helping gaining anything with the with the building boost. That's not helping us at all. So we may have to address that at one point. But we'll see. We'll just keep picking away at things and see what we can come up with, and hopefully this year we can claim our world's fastest record. I mean, we're really close already, but I'd like to just I'd like to see a sub 8 second run. I'd like to be in the 770, 780. So it's clearly we are the world's fastest 4200. I don't want to maybe, would be, should be kind of thing. So, so stay tuned on the 4200 saga. We're keeping on it. The good thing is we're not having to do any repairs at this point, large repairs. So as long as we can keep the large repairs gone, that's going to help us keep able to work on all these things that we have going on that we're not sure what's going on. So, so that's the saga. So we've also been working on the Regal this week. I've got a bunch of plumbing to do. I'm trying to make a manifold for the dry sump pump. See if I can get that some video on some of the small pieces. Obviously, it's a grudge car, so I can't do a walk around on the car until I get everything done and the hood and everything on, which then again you can't see the engine or anything. So that's one of the little idiosyncrasies of grudge cars. Got to keep a little, got to leave a little to the imagination. Like seeing a pretty girl, but she's fully dressed. You can see the curves, but you really don't know what's underneath. So we'll see. We'll keep moving along with that, and I'll be able to show some components and stuff like that. So and like I said earlier, I am going to try this weekend to get a couple Holley videos out. Those seem to be the strongest on the channel. That's where I got a couple HP Dominator videos, and those stay at the top of the list every month to month. So I got to get more of those up there. Tomorrow, update on the NASCAR. So I'm gonna try to get try to get the opener video. I forgot all about that. I'm gonna get the opening video done for that this weekend. I've got from when we got the car, and then I went in and cleaned it all out, pulled the seats out, got all the leaves and crap out of the car, and we'll get that thing moving. But I'm going tomorrow to TEC in Riviera Beach and picking up the rotating assembly. They got the balance work done for me. So I now will have everything in-house to put the engine together. Now I just need time. I see Bill says the quest for the 6s, the quest for the 8s. Yes, sir. Always a quest. Bill came by this weekend, and thank you for the shirt again. So he brought me a sick week shirt, and we were talking over a game plan for next year. So Bill's got a short list and a long list of things he wants to get done over the summer, so we can get testing in the fall and be ready for next year's sick week. This year was good. It wasn't everything I was hoping for, but they had another successful event. I think, if I remember correctly, Bill, this is like the 5th complete drive and drag event on that engine, on a whole car. But the engine's been through a couple thousand miles, and 4 to 5 racetracks every year, so five events and stuff. That's that's saying something for that car. But yeah, so he's got a list of work on there. We're gonna try to get some of that stuff done. When we do get to tuning and stuff on that, I'll get some videos up on that. Of course, that's gonna be probably in the fall. And like I said earlier in the show, working on the Chevelle. So hopefully, it's going to be a while till I get the wiring video done, but at least we'll be, 2 drive and drags and 3 sick weeks. So 5 full drive and drag events. That car is finished, every one of them. So that is a record in itself. That's quite an accomplishment. Of course, we're trying to get in the 8s with that thing, and I think I feel between the data and stuff that we found this year, and we'll see when Bill starts going through it. I think we found enough things that hopefully we'll have it all done. We know we have the fuel system straightened out. That was a big problem we had in the past. That seems to be straightened out now, and Bill made a real cool tank. So changing fuels and stuff in between events, in between driving and racing, I think is a lot easier for them now. So it's just a matter of getting all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, and we'll have that thing ready to roll. So that's what we're going to be working on for that. So I see it's after 8. I guess we'll go ahead and pull the plug on this episode. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I will try to, like I said, I'm going to try to drop a couple videos this weekend, because the programming, the fuel, the Holley tuned, Holley videos I'm going to make, I'm going to break each video down into one subject. So one will be file uploading, downloading, and transfer. There'll be one on retrieving data log and looking at data log, and I'm going to just break it down so that if you're using a system and you're trying to figure out how to do this, you don't need to watch a complete tutorial video that's an hour long trying to find that minute or 4-minute section that gives you the information you need right now. So I think that's going to be really helpful. And I think it's going to be, this fuel injection stuff, even for you guys tonight on the show. I mean, I dumped a whole bunch of information on there, so it's probably a little hard to follow it all. So I think with the videos being in these little modules, that it will be a lot easier to decipher what's going on and be able to break it down to where it'll be easier to understand and digest. So that's what we're gonna be working on. We'll get some more stuff done here in the shop. I didn't mention we got Mike's Trans Am. We got all the Willwood brakes done on that, and I have to start doing the Dakota Digital and the inside the dash. So I've got the shop's a little packed right now, so I can't get his car down off the lift, but that's next on that list too. So we'll get that car done here shortly, and we'll do a walk around video on that. And I have to get the walk around video done on Joe's car. So I got a lot of videos to get done Sunday. Since my wife will be working, that gives me a long time to do that. So anyway, we'll talk to you guys all later. Mike, have a good night. Everybody else, Ryan and Christopher, my nephew, if you're still on, and Bill, anybody that's on that didn't get to get on the chat, I hope you all have a good week. And with that, we'll see you all later.